Still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
It's a question of taste with you, well, you've gone sour. You want the world plus everything, but you won't work an hour. And now your questions are guilt creeping and you're going buying flowers. You throw away the dreams we had, boy. I won't allow it. I said we're gonna fall out. Let's see you get out. I think we're gonna fall out. Just shut your mouth.
Good morning, welcome to NUFC Matters. It's the pre-match professionals today, and welcome to Stu, Mitch, welcome to you at home. So we'll get straight into it. Get to Stu first, because just want to know what your view was on the Barcelona game. We know what Mitch's was, but how did you think we played? Obviously never great to lose a game, but what was your views on the first game back in the Champions League?
When you're watching the game, you get wrapped up in the emotion of it all, and you know it's your heart speaking, isn't it? And my instant thoughts after the game was that the team played the occasion and not the game. That was my immediate thought. I felt that I don't think many, if any, could say that maybe Elanga in the first half could be merited a 7 out of 10 performance. And then I think I'm being a bit negative here. And I look at the opportunities that we had, the team that we were playing, and then by the time the next day come around, and I started thinking, do you know what? How entitled do I sound if I'm thinking that we give one of the best teams on the planet a run for the money, and with more composure we could have got at least a point. So the fact that we're playing Barcelona, the fact that we're in the Champions League is, yes, we should be grateful for it, and we should also be appreciative of the efforts, because even when Eddie Howe first took over the team, we were languishing at the bottom of the Premier League, and the bookmakers had us odds-on favourites to be relegated. So for me, to be where we are now is fantastic, but we need to keep moving forward. And I've been a bit disappointed, Steve, to be honest, with the stick. And I know everyone will watch this and know that I always, or not always, but for the vast majority of the time, I'll defend Eddie Howe. But I actually thought he got the team selection right. It was quite clear. Bruno gives something away in his interview before the game about Voldemort not being fully fit. Now, this is where James Bunce earns his money. Now, they'll have percentages and risks and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a clinically or medical doctor as he is. And I think that he would have been in the bracket that would have been seen as a big risk if he started the game. But also tactically, I think Eddie Howe wanted to go with pace, because quite often, and most teams against Barcelona aren't going to get much of the ball. So it was to get the ball forward in as quick a way possible, whether it's hoofing forward or one touch at the midfield and play it behind their defence. You needed the pace, and Voldemort doesn't have that. Now, had Gordon actually connected with the ball, or had Harvey Barnes actually hit the target, but you'd think that he hadn't, the way he's been vilified in certain sections of the media, his shot had went in. We're one up. And it's a different game altogether. Barcelona then have to come out and could we expose them again? But we've got lots of ifs in that sentence. But for me, I think that what would happen if he played Voldemort and bent to public opinion or demand and he got injured? Then we've got a Sula for the next 6 games. You know, and it's these sort of decisions that he's paid the money for. And he's got to look at this. We could afford to get beat off Barcelona and still qualify comfortably. And so maybe that's where I think the decision come down to it. If it was the last game and we needed 3 points to qualify, maybe he would have went for it. But I think he was pragmatic in his decision making, and we should have Voldemort starting today. So we might get 60 minutes today. You know, if you go back to the Isaac and Wilson season last time we got the Champions League, where they were dovetailing 60 minutes, 30 minutes, one game, and they played off each other. He doesn't have that luxury at the moment with Wissa being injured, who's obviously taken on the Callum Wilson role too literally. But when he's back in full flight, he would have started that game, and we're going to see a better team. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, but I think overall on Thursday night, the passion there, I could hear it, feel it through the TV, and I'm standing up, pacing around, and I think your dad, Mitch George, would love the fact I was shouting foul through and everything, the way the Barcelona players were throwing the ball, and then also when they were kept moving 5 yards, 10 yards, 20 yards further forward, I was starting pointing at the telly and Mrs. Beasley, they can't hear you, they can't see you. And I was like, waving, get back. But that's the game we all love, you know, the passion inside it. And the players, to a man, can't be faulted for the effort they made. And to think that we got close to Barcelona, it wasn't as if we played them and we didn't lay a glove on them. You know, they knew that they'd been in the game. And when you have the England manager in the stands and you've got then, in effect, it was Rashford versus Gordon. Someone took the flowers and someone didn't they, on the night? So it was a moment of brilliance. The second goal, I thought, was superb. Great finish. And if that's the type of goal you're going to get beat from against Barcelona, then it's never nice to get beat. But if that's what it is, then fine. It wasn't an own goal. It wasn't like a ping pong in the box or anything like that. It was a clinical, classy finish. So Barcelona's passed. We can still and probably will qualify for the Champions League. We need to be looking now for picking up points against teams that we didn't pick up points against last season, which leads us probably into the game that starts in about 3 hours. So for your Thursday night, Steve, I thought we could have done better, but then you have to measure it against who you're playing against. And we all played against one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It was, on reflection after rewatching it, we should have been 3-0 up, and we can all be better after the event, and I'm sure Eddie and the players can as well. But, 2 wonderful balls by Elanga, who had his best game so far in a black and white shirt. Yeah. Harvey Barnes went near post, and the keeper pulled off a great save. With hindsight, I bet you Harvey Barnes has replayed that opportunity time and time again in his mind. When that second one came fizzing across in front of the goalkeeper, he should have put it across him into the bottom corner. But, if ifs and ands were pots and pans, Gordon, he slipped, on that opportunity, completely missed that other one. It could have been 3-0. Newcastle against the best team, one of the best teams in the world, a team that's potentially going to win the tournament this season, could have last season, but could win it this season. I'm not going to criticise him. That high press, we've talked about it many times before, cannot be done by any team for 90 minutes. So if you don't score in that open 35, that's it. So okay. Well, we've done our reviews of the Barcelona game. Question came in from Tom, which I think is a good one to discuss because it is relevant. Kieran Trippier will be a free agent on June the 30th next year. Do we offer him a new contract or move him on? Mike had replied he'd offer him a 12-month rolling contract with an option to join coaching staff in some capacity. Mitch, it's been a bit of an on-off story in the last couple of transfer windows. Would he stay? Would he go? Much publicised problems in his personal life was being suggested as a reason for leaving. Big teams and big clubs have come in for him. But what is your feeling with Trippier? I still think it's worth keeping a hold of him as a player, to be honest.
Discussion I had with the player, like you, I can see so many advantages of his experience and his leadership in that dressing room. If it means he's not playing anything more than the odd cup game, even, and he's there to help in the background in the dressing room, does he want to move into coaching, and would that fit with the coaches that Eddie has and the ideas and the coaching ideas that Eddie has? He's been it really is like a measure of the progress we've made since the takeover. He was one of the first to agree to come in. He was one of the ones that, even when he then got that foot injury, he was on the bench with his cast on. He was in the dressing room with his cast on. He still had an influence. And he's been part of the progression to the point we've got to now. However, if he wants a final payday somewhere, he's earned that. And I think if that's his mindset, that he would like one last contract somewhere else to earn a payday, I don't think we could begrudge him that at all. And I would be supportive of that, because it's quite clear our future right fullback's Tino Livramento. And we've got enough cover at right fullback at the moment. But that leadership and the experience is not to be belittled. In my understanding, when people were talking about a certain striker and on strike not answering somebody's phone calls, it was Kieran Trippier's phone calls that he wasn't answering. And that says a lot for me. So I think it's a discussion you've got to have with the player. He's earned the right to a payday somewhere. And he would go with grace and thanks, and he's been part of his moving on would maybe be the end of the beginning. And so we'd have to say, thank you. You've done more than earned your corn with us. But I could see him being part of the furniture going forward if he wanted to take a coaching role and develop his coaching skills, because that leadership is something that's difficult to teach.
Yeah. What's your feeling, Stu, on this? The Clun lad says Trips was 35 yesterday. Not sure he'll have the legs next season for Eddie's style of play. What a servant, though. Probably the best right back to ever play for us.
I agree with that comment, and I'll probably echo most of what Mitch has said as well. But there's one thing that he did miss was Trippier's wages were still in this financial fair play rule. And Trippier at 35, he's a very, very, very top professional, and we all know he leads by example and stuff like that. And he'll know going into next season if he's capable of doing even half a Premier League season, like alternating and stuff like that. And I think that this will be his last season playing for us, and you'll see his game time reduced during the course of the season. And as and when we need him, he'll be able to come in. He has the respect of the players. I think long term the plan is to have him on the coaching staff, but I'm in full agreement with Mitch if and what would likely be an offer from Saudi or the UAE or even Qatar came in and said, right, we'll give you a year or 2 years contract. I think he's earned that payday because he was the first player to join this project that we've started. And yes, there was reasons why he came, but he didn't have to come to Newcastle. He could have went to just about any team in the Premier League. Yeah, he came to us. And, you're talking about even when he's on the subs bench, he's coaching from the sidelines. And, you can tell, even on Thursday, there was a time just before the kickoff when they got in the huddle, he was doing the speaking. And then as soon as Bruno walked over from the centre circle, he stopped. And that was showing respect to the captain, but the players were listening to him. So on that part, he's essential that he stays for this season, and I'm sure he will. And I seen the comment there, we'll let him go in January. I'd be surprised at that. Why would we get our squad? It wouldn't be a case of should we let him go in June. He would be gone because his contract's expired, similar to what happened with Callum Wilson just a couple of months back. But I think what Trippier's done for us won't be appreciated until maybe 2 or 3 years down the line. And hopefully by then he's back on the coaching staff, because I mean, if we can just guess his salary, let's say he's on 120,000 a week, which I believe if it's not that, it's very close to that, 10,000 either way. That's the sort of money they should be paying Chino Livramento and tying him down on a long-term contract with. And then could the club really keep Trippier at 35, turning 36 next season, not to be playing every game, or not even, he'd just be a bit part player? So for me, I'd let him have his payday. I think he's earned it. He deserves it. And then he could come back in a year or two and start coaching with the youths, the reserves, or even with the first team, because he will have the respect. And when he comes back, the players who are still in the squad would have the utmost respect for him. So I don't think we should renew his contract. But that's not because I don't admire him professionally. I think he's been fantastic for us.
Yep, Denise says Trippier proved his love of Eddie and us by taking a pay cut. He's worked behind the scenes when he couldn't play, loads to offer. He's earned a move if he wants one. Depends if someone will pay him well. So, remember him going on the team on his crutches. Yeah, Mitch mentioned that earlier. But, great servant. He will be remembered as like the Brian Kilcline of this particular era, the achievers, as some people are calling it in the chat. James Slater, morning. He said, what do the pros think about their APT settlement case the other week? Absolute crickets with both sides not saying anything. What happens next, Mitch?
Well, it's clear that the Premier League wanted to get it settled before the second one came, because the second one was going to blow a hole in things like ownership loans and things like that, which then makes a mess of it for a number of big clubs, in particular one whose borrowing has just crept past 1 billion this weekend in Man United. Man City got what they wanted with the approval of an associated party deal, which is led to believe is the biggest sponsorship deal in Premiership history. What does that do for us? Well, in some respects, not a lot. I don't expect it opens floodgates, because as part of that settlement, the statement was that the Man City agree that there has to be rules and they'll abide by the rules. Everybody has to have rules. Everything has to have rules. It's part of the game. But what's clear is that the approval of that sponsorship deal with its associated party transactions does move the dial. It moves the reference points. It moves the baselines. It moves the assessment and the way things are assessed. Because like me and Stu banged on loads before, how can somebody sat in an office in London assess what a sponsorship is worth in this region? Because the business works in different ways over here, very different ways over here. And therefore something that may be perceived to be one way in London would be very different in this part of the world. And so I think that's what the opportunities are there for us now, is that we have an opportunity to deliver certain sponsorships which we may or may not have been holding back on. It is quite clear that from some of the accounts that the Premier League did modify at least one of the deals that has been done in the last couple of years. And so how does that then roll forward? Can we then modify that back or make it even bigger as a result of the Man City case? I don't expect it to be a free-for-all, but I do expect us to have a lot more wiggle room on things. And I would hope, beyond hope, that the club are ready to take advantage of that finally.
Same kind of thoughts from you, Stu?
Yeah, of course, we'll be on the same page when it comes down to it, but I still don't buy into it seems like it's a weekly thing we're talking about this now, but I still don't buy into the fact that we've held things back, because that's like a gamble on how do you know Manchester City would win the case? How do you know that it would, okay, they've got that through, then they agree to go with the new rules once they've been accepted, because everyone's in it for themselves. So I don't think we should get along with that. It's us, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest and Man City against the rest of them. Every team is doing it for their own benefit, and that's why they vote that way. It still puzzles me why some teams, with the phrase "turkey's voting for Christmas," but that's for them. That's their choice. I just think that if you look at Sella, how they got their sponsorship reduced, that could have been a type of contested. And if you look what Sella have done, as main sponsors for us, things like the light shows and stuff like that, and the Sella bus, and they've really took on the role of being a main sponsor, and they've done us proud as well as we've done them proud. They've done us proud, and why couldn't they then say, in the Champions League? So when we're talking about sponsorships, I think I touched on it a few weeks back, Steve. We've got a training kit still not showing any sponsorship on it. We've got a minimum of 8 Champions League games that will be shown right the way around the world over the coming months. Realistically, we'll have at least 10 because we should make the top 24 out of 32 teams. That is exposure that they'll show Newcastle training. So they'll show anyhow when the player, whichever designated player it is in a press conference, that's where your name could be. That's where and if it's just a 1-year deal, do it. And if Manchester City win the APT case, but still don't even know when it is, and when it is won, it could be challenged and it goes down the line again. That's 1 year. That could bring in an extra 10 to 20 million pounds worth of sponsorship in just on your kid sponsor. And this is a bit that really frustrates me. It's as if, like, I don't even want to point fingers. I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. Decides, well, I'll hide behind this because I don't want to get my hands dirty. Well, when you're at the top, you've got to fight, and you have to roll your sleeves up and be prepared to get your hands dirty. And this is what you should be doing, putting sponsorships like that in and challenging them. So if they can have that, why can't we have this? We're in the same competition. We've been in it 2 times out of 3. It's Tottenham's first time for about 5 years or whatever. We can match them. And if you look at the global audiences, we get watched just as much. Well, not as obviously as much as Manchester United and Liverpool, but we'll get watched just as much as Chelsea, certainly more than what Tottenham do. And we're not pushing the envelope hard enough or far enough, in my opinion. So I'm struggling now with words because it really frustrates us to the point where I think it's neglect, and we've been doing this role before. So I think we better go on to the next question before I blow a gasket.
Yeah, I mean it is so frustrating, and I mean it has been frustrating. And Dave, yeah, I mean that's a big question. Once we get a training kit sponsor, will the sponsors narrative stop? No, because people then want a training ground sponsor, then they want a sponsor for the ground. It just goes on and on and on.
No, but Steve, that's an easy win that's been overlooked for like coming up to 4 years now, and that's what annoys us. And when you get the ones that are all support, look, we've got all these new sponsorships, isn't it wonderful? They're just scratching the surface, and for me, they were free hits because the only sponsorship we had prior to that was Sports Direct, Flannels, House of Fraser. They were all Mike Ashley's brands, so quite easily people want to be associated with a Premier League club on the up, as long as we didn't charge too much. It's the top end. That's what makes a difference, and that's what makes a difference in the league table as well. It's the ones at the top that are. You see it, the ones with the biggest wages are the ones that have end normally, with the exception of Man United, finish in the top 4 or 5. We can't get there because we haven't got the commercial revenue coming in. So if we got a training kit sponsor, will it stop? What the hell is like? It just shows that's what we're doing and that we can do it. Why should we stop when there's so much room to improve?
If you look at all the other clubs that do commercially exceptionally well, the inventiveness of some of the sponsorships that they have that we don't have. Man United have an official tyre partner, an official tractor sponsor, an official kitchenware sponsor, an official hardware tools sponsor. Tottenham have an official dog food partner, which I did find amusing that they announced that when they were in Korea, but that was another matter. That's the kind of level that I'm talking about. And you're not talking about paltry sums here. I think that the Tottenham announced that dog food sponsorship like they were announcing the signing of a new player. It's some ridiculous amount for pet food. And it's like, well, yes, I know London's easy to get the track sponsorship too. That's always going to be the case. But surely we can think and act outside of the box. And I'm not going to decry what has been done. I know we've got more sponsors and the sponsors have grown. And I know they've upsold so many sponsors, people like InPost, who now are, putting significantly more money into the club than they were previously. And that's obviously a very happy and healthy relationship with a sponsor. However, as these things happen, we then ask the club what happens to certain tickets and where do they go. Well, some of them go to sponsors. And that's the double-edged sword and the balance that people in the club are trying to keep. To say to sponsors, well, yeah, you can have some tickets, but you can't have all the tickets that you might like, because we've got to try and balance this game of where the tickets go at the minute. And so it's much more complicated than people think, but at the same time, I don't think we've done enough in that respect on occasion. And I think me and Stu talked about this far enough over the last year. God, we had about 2.5 hours of brunch the other week together talking about it. So, you know, we talk about when we're not on the bloody podcast, for God's sakes. But that's the kind of thing that it does. It takes over every not doing, because you can see where the holes are, you know.
Yeah, of course you
That
can.
was only last week, Mitch. It feels like a
You
couple
think
of weeks ago.
a lifetime ago.
Lee,
That
I'm
was
not
when
dwell
we
on this.
discovered that STK Brunch in Dubai has a limit on drinks. Who knew?
Oh, well, that's
It's a limit.
a proper world crisis. Lee will not dwell on this because I think we all want to be in the Champions League. I mean, I get where you're coming from. There's that kind of mentality to suggest, oh, if we're in the Europa, we could win it. But if we want to compete at the top level, Lee, we have to be in the Champions League
In the top
every
competitions.
bloody
Yeah.
season.
Absolutely.
I get the question and I agree with it, because as fans, we want to see us win trophies, you know. And had we not qualified for the Champions League, we would have been, I would imagine, favourites to win the Europa League. We've seen Man United win it. We've seen West Ham win the conference
100%.
in the last few years. So for that reason, but for us to grow as a club, it's the players. The players want the Champions League. So for us to attract the better players, we have to, if we can't give them the big salaries that other ones can because of the PSR restrictions, we've got to be able to dangle the Champions League carrot in the face as well. And even with that, look how we struggled during the summer. So imagine saying Cup West, we're in the Conference League, we're off to Azerbaijan next weekend, which is a nice place to go for a weekend, to be fair, but not if you're playing football on a November evening. So I do get the question with that, but the players that we've got might have got through this season, but it would have been very hard to attract new players after that if we didn't get Champions League.
Yep. Just a quick one from Nicholas. He says, have Mitch and Stu heard anything about the rumour of Saudi Air doing a weekly 777 Newcastle to King Abdulaziz International Airport?
I've heard even bigger rumours than that.
That's right.
Oh, well, there we go. Simple as that.
Bigger aeroplane than that.
One thing I would say, somebody in the automotive industry here in Dubai told me, when they flew the team out to Saudi on I think it was on a 777 with Saudi Air for one of the training sessions over here, it was a little bit of a test to see how well the runway at Newcastle took a 777 or a 7 or whatever it is. It'll take 777 because they do for Emirates rather, but whatever the new Boeing is, how well it lands at Newcastle and how well Newcastle handle that aircraft. Was a reason for it. Because nothing happens by accident. Nothing ever happens by accident and stuff like that, particularly in the aerospace industry.
All right, read between the lines there. I hope that answers your question, Nicholas. We'll have a quick break back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. And don't forget, the next Age UK North Tyneside Dementia Charity Evening is the Christmas party, and that takes place on the 21st of November at the Tyneside Irish Club. Tickets are £12 from nufcmatters.co.uk. Warren Barton is the special guest on the 21st of November, and a little bit later on in January, Peter Beardsley will be doing his annual event at the Tyneside Irish Centre, again in aid of Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. nufcmatters.co.uk are the tickets are available on there now. Let's get back to one of the questions, and it was from Blue Rhythm Boy. Says Dougie Friedman gone in a second tier Saudi club as director of football. Why do you think lads, did we not go and make a move for him to come to Newcastle?
We did, and Palace didn't play a ball, did they? He's obviously well thought of. And I didn't realise he was at a second division team in Saudi. I thought he had a more influential role within the structure of the league. But irrespective, he'd be getting well ruminated, as they say, for what he's doing, because he is very good at his job. And now, would I like him at Newcastle? Yes, I would. And I think we touched on this just last week, because everyone thinks it's a shoo-in that we're going to get the guy from Forest, and we may well. But our new CEO has to be seen. It's going to be his decision, isn't it? So for me, I think he's going to say, okay, I understand you want this guy, let me speak with him, but I want to speak to other people as well. Once he's done that, then it will be his decision.
Agree, Mitch?
Yeah, 100%. My understanding is that he's always been the number one, and he's working a notice period, a very polite notice period with Marinakis, who is an interesting person to deal with. And I think it's basically, you've got to deal with Marinakis as straight can be. He's shown he can throw his toys out the cot, he can play hardball, he can get difficult if he really, really wants. But I think, like a lot of businessmen like that, and certainly this is what my dad would agree on, knowing a lot of interesting Greek people in the shipbuilding and the cruise line industry. That's amazing to be with when they're happy and they play a ball and they play by the rules. They're ruthless when they're not happy. So it has to be done right, it has to be done proper, and I suspect that's why there's not a lot of noise. It's just being done in the right way, and it'll be announced when it's announced.
Yeah, big shout out to Alistair Legg, even though he can't hear us. He's made the journey down to Bournemouth, a bit like Dad. Darren's down there with a couple of lads as well. 2 o'clock in the morning, he set off. Love the show, he says. How are the lads? Yeah, fingers crossed. David says that all local councils will want massive inward investment in business from airport expansion. Tie that into the Leazes Park development. Which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense as well. You know, there's lots of positives to come from that, but still think we're a long way off from it. He also says extended runway at Newcastle Airport means long flights.
Put that into perspective. Not only could that mean more flights from Saudi, it would keep Emirates happy, because Emirates might then be able to put an A380 into Newcastle rather than a 777 because they want to use their A380 fleet more. And they've got A380s sitting unused at Maktoum Airport at the moment, the second airport in Dubai. And so they want the 380 fleet used more often. And I think they would love to put a 380 into Newcastle because that's more seats, it's a bigger plane, and therefore it's more money for them.
And it's got a bar upstairs on the plane.
Yeah, a fantastic bar on the plane, which we explored very fantastically on our way to Dusseldorf last year. Yes,
that's right.
So yeah, there's loads of advantages. Obviously, keeping Emirates happy from the point of view that any other airline coming into Newcastle, like Saudi or Riyadh Air, has to play ball with Emirates in terms of flight times and flight offerings. But if they get an extended runway that allows them to put a 380 in, I think that'll put a big smile on their face, and therefore they'll not be too bothered about anybody else coming in with another flight or other flights in the region. And it becomes win-win, and everybody in the Middle East loves a win-win solution.
Yeah, we also mentioned probably a couple of years ago now, if they can't get the A380s in, it would benefit Tyneside, it would benefit Northumberland, County Durham, etc., because it would then become a tourist destination. Because trust me, living here, when it rains, you know what they say? Oh, the weather's lovely, isn't it? No, it's not. It's raining. No, it's wet and it's windy. But they think that's lovely because they're used to the sun all the time. So actually coming to Newcastle, or if they want to go up the Northumberland coast or something like that, they would find that weather fantastic. But also it would create Newcastle being a hub for flights from the Middle East to go across transatlantic into the States as well. So it's not just a runway. That bit of concrete could create so much jobs for the region. And we are a deprived region, we know that. And I think, same with the stadium, the council should be bending over backwards to try and accommodate this instead of looking at reasons not to do it. And I'm going to change subject totally in case I forget, because I've just read a tweet. I got it yesterday. It was a discussion that you had on Friday about the throw-ins with George. And someone said, well, the lad's called Barry and Mag, so there's more than one of us. He said, I thought at least one of the amigos would have known this. BBC competition in the 1970s used to have a throw-in competition. Who would give the longest throw-in? One of the winners was Malcolm MacDonald.
Oh, there we go.
Beating Martin Shivers in the final at Highbury. So next time Supermax on, ask him to recall that just to verify it. But I've got no doubt the source is correct. But the throw-in debate goes back there, and Supermac, well, he was stocky, big, strong arms, only so you can imagine he could throw the ball quite a distance. So there you have it. So there's a bit of info from the professionals, courtesy of Barry and Mag.
Very good, thanks Barry and Mag. Blue and Boy, looking ahead to the game today, why do the lads think Eddie's failed to beat Bournemouth since he left? It's an interesting one, isn't it? You get bogey teams, Mitch.
It's just one of them stupid stats that football throws up, and unfortunately, being humans, we spend our time with our brains trying to make patterns of things and make things make sense and make things work in order, and that's why you need proper statistical analysis to break correlations down, because our brains will make correlations with all sorts which actually aren't true, and that's just one of those stats. Think about how long it took Jose Mourinho to win at St James's Park. It was something like 12 games or something before he managed to win and beat Newcastle at St James's Park. And it was like, everybody's like, oh, it's the Bobby Robson effect. It's just one of them things. Just one of them things that happens in football. Records are there to be broken, and that's how it is.
Quite also, Bournemouth are a decent team, so we've got no right to beat them. Although we did in the League Cup on one of our ways on not the last Wembley trip to Wembley before we beat them I think it was on penalties, but we hadn't beat Man City in the league either. So it's going to happen, and I think there's more is made of it because anyhow we used to coach them. But last season we won at Old Trafford for the first time in a while. We won at the Emirates for the first time in a while. We broke so many little hoodoos like that. It would be nice to do that again today, wouldn't it? So this team likes to smash things that we're not meant to do. We're not meant to beat them because we never win. So wouldn't it be nice to go there to the end and do just that?
It's a difficult ground to go to, and they'll be up for it because Eddie Howe's coming back. And they'll be up for it every time Eddie Howe comes back. And so that, that adds to the flavour, it adds to the mix, it adds to the atmosphere in the ground. Does it then push the team forward on a little bit more? Probably. Because we know what St James's Park's like when we get up for it. And we can't delude ourselves that doesn't happen at other grounds. It really does. And Marcus Tavernier, every time he plays against us, suddenly seems to find another gear. It's the classic former player syndrome, So I think that it's just one of them things. It is. It's just one of them things that football chucks up every now and again.
Yeah, Roger, I think we'll beat them in Carabao Cup, but we've never beat them in the league.
Absolutely, the league, yeah.
Yeah, League Cup, yeah, we did, but not in the league. It's a bit of a nightmare ground that for us to be perfectly honest. Dave, he says we've got 100 more sponsorships in the programme, about 200 plus. I'll count up today. I don't understand the Silverstone does nothing narrative. Yeah, there is a few people who say that on a regular basis, but I don't believe that he's done nothing. But it's because we haven't got the strip sponsor.
That's it again, Steve. That's the low-hanging fruit I was just talking about because they had nothing. It was just anyone you can get people in, and I'm not saying he's done a bad job. I'm just saying he hasn't done an excellent job. And if we are to move forward as fast as we want to move forward, we need people in that position or in every position doing excellent jobs. Not just a good job, not just a decent job or a canny job. We need people doing the best job. And fantastic, he's managed to attract. But I think half of those would have come to him, to be fair. And it's not a personal vendetta against Peter Silverstone, so maybe sometimes it comes across that way. I just want the best for my club, and I think the way football's changed, it's now more commercially driven, and we're now more aware. In the past, it didn't matter. It was what happened on the pitch on a Saturday at 3:00, and how they're 3:00 kickoffs on a Saturday is rare sense. Teeth on. We got one last week, and you were celebrating. So do I want better for my team? Yes. Do I want better for my club? Yes. And if generating more money is the way for this team to get better quicker, then he's in a very privileged position, but a powerful position, which comes with that comes a lot of scrutiny. And as a fan of the club, and as someone who has a business brain, and who lives in the Middle East, I know that there's the deals being left behind or even untouched. But again, that's just my opinion. And if JP Dave believes that Silverstone's doing fantastic, then that's his opinion as well.
Yeah. Lots of chat in the chat today about the South Coast and yeah, Southampton. Always a bit of a nightmare for Newcastle to go to. Matt Letizia always seem to score goals against us as well. Yeah. So, be interesting. When do you think Ross Wilson will be announced? I mean, again, it seems to be like a badly kept secret, but I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. I expected it to be quick, quite quick after Hopkinson.
Again, like I said before, you're dealing with Marinakis. He'll want I's dotted. He'll want T's crossed. And how his role works, haven't had Edu appointed above him within that ownership group. There's bound to be things that Forrest he needs to tidy up and finish off before he's relieved of his duties or allowed to go. The next question is as well, will there be a fee paid to avoid a gardening leave period? It might be as simple as we're still discussing that. That if he's to be appointed immediately, then are we going to have to pay a fee to negate the gardening leave period? Or is that all being discussed at the moment? We don't know. It's not being done publicly, which isn't a bad thing. It seems to be that everybody in football seems to think that's the appointment. I have to say, given other recent appointments, he fits into that sort of structure very nicely. with people he knows and people he's connected with. And so, and the only people who seem to be casting aspersions is Rangers from his time at Rangers. Yet, if you look at what's happened to Rangers since he left Rangers, is they've basically gone to shite since he left. So I don't see why you can be that disparaging about him.
No, but just add to the Rangers thing, Mitch. He was there when they won the league, but he didn't sign the players that won the league, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So but you get it in every walk of life. A player could be great for us, fantastic for us, and then go to Liverpool and not play very well at all. Or you could get a player that's isn't so good elsewhere and then comes to Newcastle and plays really well. And sometimes we all know what it is. It's different horses for courses. I'll get back to one of my favourite sayings. So he might not have done well at Rangers, but he has at Forest. But that's no guarantee he'll do well at Newcastle. And this is why I think David Hopkinson will do due diligence. And if he does announce him, he believes he's the best candidate.
Okay. Scott says that he doesn't have a number 9 available today. Nick is a 10. Beardsley type player. Wisner should be back for November. He's back 16th or 18th of October, along with Ramsey, according to Howe. But he'll miss at least 2 months of Premier League and AFCON with injuries. You're right. I think you'll go with Voldemort today. Let's start looking ahead to the match. Newcastle, of course, taking on Bournemouth. 1:30 the programme starts on Sky if you are watching it in the house. And it is a 2:00 kickoff. We are winless in all 6 Premier League meetings with Bournemouth on Tyneside and in Dorset since Eddie Howe left his post as Bournemouth boss back in 2020. But Eddie Howe has led Newcastle to a victory over his former club once, which was a 1-0 success at St James's Park in the Carabao Cup in 2022. Team news, Anthony Gordon serves his 3rd and final game of his ban. Jacob Ramsey, Johan Wissa remain sidelined, both expected, as I said earlier, to be back by the 18th of October for the visit of Brighton. Following his replacement against Barcelona, Fabian Shaw will miss the game as well. He'll also miss the visits of Bradford in the Carabao Cup and Arsenal due to concussion protocols. His absence at the Vitality Stadium leaves him on 199 Premier League games for Newcastle. There's also a doubt over Kieran Trippier. He limped off during the Champions League defeat as well. As for Bournemouth, Ines Unal and Adam Smith are both out, but Ryan Christie and Bafore Diake are expected to be in the squad. Bournemouth have won 3 of their 4 Premier League games so far, and they've lost the other. 3 points came against Wolves and Brighton, and against Spurs, they lost against Liverpool. And they have had a free week. No European football, no Carabao Cup football this week for them, which give Andoni Iraola plenty of time to get his lads fit and ready for today's game. Robert Jones is the referee today, and on VAR it is Matthew Donoghue. We're expecting changes today, gents, because obviously, we know that Gordon can't play. We've got a couple of injuries as well. You would imagine, though, that he will probably go with Voldemort up front, Stu.
Yeah, for certainly he'll be playing, and we'll get a good 60 minutes out of him. And there has to be a change to centre-backs. There's a minimum of 2 changes. But I know I've mentioned it previously, the idea of having the squad is to rotate. But we know Eddie's not one for wholesale changes either. But you can use the midweek game coming up. This, for me, it's not a must-win game. But I think after what I said earlier about Barcelona, it's more important that we win this one than we did on Thursday night. And we have the players to win. As good as Bournemouth are as a team, how many of their players would make our start 11? And it's the unit that they get. So it shows that with the attitude and the effort, that's what carries them on. And by having a very, very, very good tactically astute manager as well, which we have. So I think that we can go there and win. And I don't think the players worry about hoodoos or stuff like that. I think they'll go there and think, right, we've had a taste of the Champions League. These are the sort of games where we need to get more points than we did last season to get back into the league that we want to be in, the Champions League. if we had Ramsey available, he would have been probably selected, I would suggest. Personally, I would find a place for Lewis Miley in the team, but I think likely the midfield three will stay the same, and you'll see Miley start on Wednesday. The Chow is most likely to go right centre back with Shaw out. There's been calls for Botman to partner him, but I think Eddie will stay with Dan Burn for this game. And up front, because I would still go with Elanga. I think he showed enough in the first 45 minutes where the way Bournemouth play because they press high like we do, with someone like Elanga, they can't commit too many people forward because we'll be able to expose them at the back. And if it's still a tight game or we've got a goal to defend, that's when you can bring Murphy on to do a bit more. I would definitely play Harvey Barnes because I don't get that fact he's the new scapegoat like Sean Longstaff was last year. It's sad I know it's not all the fan base, it's probably not the match-going fans, but it's sad that someone has to receive such derision. I don't think anyone goes on the pitch and says, I'm not going to try my best, I'm not going to play well. Well, maybe end of last season it did for us, but someone like Harvey Barnes, I don't think he's never going to be better than Anthony Gordon for the system we've got, but he's a better finisher. But he has become a bit stale. He is maybe becoming a one-trick pony where you'll cut inside and leather it, but when it goes in, it's all forgotten. But for me, people, again, I like to look a bit deeper. Him and his wife, well, I presume his wife has just had a baby, and off the pitch, that's a massive shift. You know, it's a change in your personal lifestyle and everything else. And I wish the family all the best and congratulations to them. I really hope he has a good game today and he scores the only goal in a 1-0 win. Although I do have a 3-1 bet on, I'd like Barnes to score the only goal in a 1-0 win, and that'll silence some people. Because for me, if they wear our colours and they go on the pitch and try their best, they're not going to be brilliant every single game. But there's players who are of a higher profile who haven't played brilliant every single game and seem to get a free pass. And it's like this social media need to criticise someone when really the person that they want to criticise is themselves. And I agree with that. Gary Barnes is due a good one. What's the thing? Form is temporary, class is permanent. And he is a good player. He's not top class, but he's a great squad player. And if he wasn't there, who would you be playing there instead? And that's the idea of having a squad. And it's not his fault Gordon got sent off twice in the last few games. But again, he gets a pass. Imagine if it was Barnes that fluffed the shot that Gordon did. Actually didn't even hit the ball. Oh my good grief. He'd be vilified from here till Christmas. Well, Christmas is just behind us, as you know. But
it's already here.
Yeah, it's just there, look, Mitch. But Gordon seemed to have got away with it because he looked to try harder. Gordon's let us down most times this season, and I'm a great fan of Anthony Gordon, but he's let us down more this season than what Harvey Barnes has. And Barnes has been available, and it was Gordon's saying availability is the best ability. Well, Barnes has made himself available and he's played for us. And I think he knows deep down, once the squad's fully up to strength, he's not going to start. So this could be his last start in the league for us for a while. Go out with a bang, son, and score the winner. Make it one of those 20-odd breakers at the top corner.
It's interesting, Barry's making the comment about Bruno, about him being, why is he going to drop in form? Is he exhausted? Problem is, Eddie would never drop him. I disagree with that, Barry. I do think that, Eddie does look at players individually each day and looks at, who is on form and who isn't. And Bruno's no different. Yes, he's the captain of the team, but if his form drops, he could find himself on the bench. I don't think his form dropped dramatically, Mitch, but I just think tiredness plays a part, and let's not forget as well, he played at high altitude for Brazil, so I expect him to rest Bruno at some point.
I think he's his own worst enemy because he wants to play every game. He wants to play every game for his club. He wants to play every game for his country. He just loves football. He loves playing football. he exudes the joy of playing football, and he just wants to play.
Yeah,
And
but Mitch, he needs to be told sometimes that he's not running the team.
Absolutely, mate, and that's where the manager earns his corn, to take that and package it up and pull him to one side and say, "You're gonna have a rest of the day, kidder."
I would have rested him against Wolves. So I agree with Barry. I would have rested him against Wolves. He's, as you said, Steve, he played high altitude. He come back late. Perfect opportunity to rest him then. Play Miley, and then he would have been chomping at the bit on Thursday night. But again, Morris said he played excellent against Wolves. I disagree with that. I don't think Bruno is anywhere near his best, but his best is very, very good. That was not one of Bruno's best performances against Wolves. There was too many mislaid passes. For me, there was a lack of concentration, and he was tired. He looked tired. And again, the idea of having a big squad is, if we can't beat Wolves without Bruno, then we shouldn't be talking about qualifying for the Champions League. And we can't keep saying we've got one of the best young players in the country, Miley, and refusing to play him. So there's times where, to optimise Bruno's ability, we need to put these rests in and pick and choose the games. Today's not one of them. You'll have to play today. But I thought the game against Wolves, and I agree with Barry, that's when he should have been rested. And even come on for the second half if necessary, but not start him. But again, just my opinion.
No, look, this is the benefit, lads, of having a big squad. This is the benefit of being able to go out and buy Ramsey. We're saying, yes, neither of them are available, but Voltemada, we have got cover. When we hear Trippier's out, that would have been a big moment last season. Would have been going, oh, God almighty, who we're going to play? Lewis Hall's back to fitness now, and we've got Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento who can both play full back.
Wouldn't surprise me to see Eddie chuck a real curveball today with team selection. I think we can all sit and pick an 11 out of the air, and I don't know if any of you will ever actually be close to actually picking with that starting 11. Let's see.
No,
I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if Trippier starts. We're talking he's just turned 35, and if anyone needs rotated or looked after, it's him, because when he is playing at his best, he's a massive asset to the team and the squad. But we can't just keep flogging him like this. 2
seasons ago was too many minutes and too many players' legs, and paid badly for it towards the end of the season.
Exactly.
We were treading water in some games, particularly after Champions League games. We can't be in that situation again. That's where we've got to be smarter, and we've got to trust him. We've got to trust the players he picks and trust the system he goes with. And we're in a far better. It comes back to our squad's deeper. Even if our starting level may be a little bit affected, our squad's deeper, and that's what we've been crying out for.
I would agree. We need 3 points to keep up with the pack. Morris will give you the final word today. And enjoy the game wherever you're watching it. Big thank you to everybody watching today. Slightly shorter show, the lads. We've got to get out and get to the bar. We've got just short of 1,000 watching this morning. Never take it for granted. Those of you watching on Twitter, jump over onto YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. It is free. And we do 7 shows a week. Back tomorrow night with the Fans Forum at 6 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you all then. Enjoy your day, lads. Take care.
Cheers. Give me best of Mr. H, Mitch.
I will do, man.
Right. Cheers to that.